Norse Wicca and the lady. I mean, so this is a Wicca take. So if it clearly stated on the outside that it was a Wiccan take of this book, I would have no problem with it. However, it does not. So if you were picking up this book and you want to come from an authentic, and that's one of my things that I'm really heavy into, is getting not necessarily a reconstructionist, but really getting into the authentic historical accuracy as much as possible, at least in studying the mythology. I might not necessarily want to recreate it, but at the same token, I want to know authentically where that information comes from. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but I had a whole bunch of friends get married this year. I literally was the maid of honor or bridesmaid 4 times this year, and I'm getting married next year. So, Passages, Hand Fasting. Yep, Pagan Guide to Commitment Rituals. It's a really good book, has lots of great ideas. Nubis. Edith Hamilton's Mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Goddesses, or Gods and Heroes. Yep, really good for Greek, Roman. Yep, I mean, lots of people recommend this book, so. Exploring the Occult, the famous British book, provocative, intelligent book to startle the skeptics by Douglas Hunt. I have not read this book yet, but it looks fascinating, doesn't it? I know you shouldn't judge a book by cover, but it totally looks fascinating. It looks like one of those ancient, hidden books. And it says, this is an original publication, not a reprint, in that really tiny writing, which you can't really see, because it's won't focus. Again, this is moved to the front because this is something that I've been meaning to read. So, I have a lot of books that I've read, and then I have a lot of books I haven't gotten around to yet. Speaking of, the Book of Divine Magic. Have not read this one yet either. So this was, again, a secondhand used book. I really like my secondhand used books. I find that the older they are, the more accurate they are. But that's not necessarily always true, because that first book I showed you was a really bad book, and that's an old book. So, but a lot of times a good book will come out, and then, it's too provocative or whatever, and they'll pull it from the shelves. So, We Don't Die, George Anderson, Conversations with the Other Side. I loved this book. This book talks about basically talking to spirits and being a medium. And this book was huge for me because he talks about so many things that I was already doing, and it validated what I was doing. It validated how I did the things that I was doing just naturally. And it made me go, okay, I must not be crazy because someone else is doing this. So again, this isn't an older book. And this was George Anderson, man. He's totally legit. And for those of you that watch the horrible reality TV, which I totally love, he predicted Kim Kardashian's second child, and it's in the show, and maybe I'll find a link and show it to you guys. I don't know, but he totally did. When Kim had her appointment with him, he looked right at her sister and said that there's going to be a baby coming. So, she just gave birth or something like that. So, that was during the whole wedding thing. Yeah, it was during that show. Okay. The Necromonicon, because, it's the Necromonicon. I read this primarily for entertainment. That's about it. The Giant Herb Book. Complete authoritative guide to more than 500 herbs. And this is like the health and nutrition. It's got little pictures, and it tells you like the medical things that herbs do. Not magical. It doesn't really have any magical stuff, but it does tell you medical stuff. So there's that. Surrealism and the occult. I have not read this book either. I know, this is horrible. However, I really, really loved this because, well, one, my favorite artist, which you can't see, is right at the top, Marcel Duchamp. My favorite artist. He's the one that put a men's urinal that he pulled out of the garbage dump into a museum and sold it for millions and millions of dollars and called it the Fountain. I mean, how could you not love a guy like that? So, this book I picked up because it covers two of my favorite subjects: art history and magic. So, it basically details different artists and the occult and all of that. So I haven't read it again because I have a ton of books. My reading list is huge. So I have not read this yet, but it's I could not pass it up. And as you can see, it was only $5 because I love me some bargain books, and my bargain bookstore isn't around anymore. They went out of business. It's very, very sad. Earth Power by Scott Cunningham. I do like Scott Cunningham. Out of the popular Llewellyn authors, I like Scott Cunningham. So, Techniques of Natural Magic, Earth Power. I've read sections of this. I've not read this cover to cover. I've just kind of picked through it. Power of the Witch by Laurie Cabot. This book was epic for me. Again, kind of like the George Anderson book, there was so much that she said in this book that I was like, yes, that rings true. That's what I was already doing. Yay, I'm not crazy. Like, here's someone else saying that they do these things. And so Power of the Witch, Laurie Cabot, this is an epic book. Like, it has so much information, and it talks about, the principles of magic and spellcasting, and not so much the religious side of it, but the actual practice of magic. Inside a Witch's Coven, have not read this yet. So, it looked interesting, and it was cheap. Medical Meditations by Yasmin Galenorn. I love Yasmin Galenorn. Yasmin Galenorn is a New York best-selling author for her Otherworld series, and she also has the Chins in China series, which is her fiction work. But she got her start into being a writer by writing pagan books, and this was a gift to me. And when I found out that it was one of Yasmin Galenorn's books, which I believe this was the very first book she ever wrote, and then they republished it under Magical Meditations. It was actually a different name originally, but I squeed in delight when I saw this because she's one of my favorite authors, because she's one of my favorite fiction authors as well as one of my favorite pagan authors. So, and this is just like a guided meditation book. Okay, Fortune Teller's Notebook. I've skimmed through this, haven't really read it. It looked really fascinating. I got it at St. Louis Pagan Picnic for, I don't know, like 50 cents or something. It was really cheap, and it looked really interesting. The same thing with Gypsy Witch Magic Spells. It's just a little pamphlet. Haven't really looked at it seriously. I think I got both of these books for $1, and it was just like, oh, those look cool. Okay. Principles of Paganism by Vivienne Crowley. Have not read this book. I believe this was also a gift, and haven't gotten around to it yet. I talked about this one, A Pocket Guide to Rocks and Minerals, in my Crystal Books recommendation. This is just a basic, got it off of the clearance section in Barnes & Nobles, and it just helps you identify stones. So it's kind of like the Crystal Bible, but this was, maybe $2-3 versus the Crystal Bible being always full price because it's so popular. So, yep, it just helps identify. It's got pretty pictures, and it talks about scientific geological information, and I can nerd over it. That's what I do. Alright, so I'm going to end this video and do the next section of this shelf in a separate video. Alrighty, thank you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Les mieux, les miens.